Oh my God. Like, what is wrong with people? This one I watched with my parents when they were here, and it was not what I expected. Every character in this series is completely narcissistic, have lost touch with reality. Even today, if you struggle with your money mindset, if you struggle with managing your money, you've got to watch this series. It is so good. It's just beautiful. It's remarkable, and it's light watching, and it's something the whole family will enjoy. What's up? Thank you so much for joining me here today on The Chalene Show. My name is Chalene Johnson, and today I'm going to share with you a quick little update about what's going on this week in my personal life, and then we're going to get right to the shows that I recommend you watch. Some of these are kind of going back. They're sleepers, shows that maybe you missed, maybe you saw the advertisement or the thumbnail for it on Netflix and wondered, is that worth watching? So I've got some new ones, some old ones, some hidden gems, some things that work for families, some things that are just mind-blowing, and some must-watch TV. Docuseries, reality TV, we're going to go into it. I'm going to share with you why I think you should watch it, who would like it, who wouldn't like it, and I'll save you the agony of watching a whole series and going like, that's not for me. Thank you for being here. I very much appreciate you spending your time with me. Let's get to it. Before we get into what to watch, let's talk about the schedule. So if you normally tune in on Fridays because you like the Car Smart editions, you like hearing just, talking about life stuff, you find those funny, interesting, whatever. My goal is to do more of that on Wednesdays. So Wednesday's episode is more informal. There's less of a takeaway. Friday's episode now, I'm trying to give you something like this. Like today we're talking about what to watch, and I'm going to get to that in just a second, but I also like to kind of update you on the week and, just kind of catch up on some of the commentary I get from the previous episode. Anyways, I just want to say thank you for those of you who have been telling me that you enjoy now being able to listen to the podcast on YouTube. And some of you are listening to the podcast and also checking out the video every once in a while when there's things that I'm talking about or showing. And it's interesting. You know what it's doing? It's making me shower more often and literally get ready. Because normally when I record a podcast, I don't look this cute. It's not even just putting myself together to be on camera. What it's been doing for me, because that's not a good goal. Or what am I trying to say? I guess what I'm trying to say is I found myself recording podcasts very late at night. And that was impacting how late I was going to sleep at night. And that was impacting, my sleep was impacting all things. I was feeling less productive. I was feeling less in control of my schedule. I was feeling sorry for myself because I was up late at night, quote, working, when the truth of the matter is I should have been more structured with my day so that I was getting my recordings done earlier. And not feeling rushed about it and not feeling like I'm letting my husband down because he's going to bed without me. You know what I'm saying? So it's been almost like an accountability for me to do these on video because it's weird. I've changed my schedule around a little bit. Now I'm taking a shower first thing in the morning. That's unheard of. And getting ready. That's unheard of. What I had been doing in the past was just getting up, putting my hair in a bun, going to the gym, doing all the work stuff during the day, and then recording a podcast at 9 o'clock at night, and then taking a shower before I went to bed. This is working out so much better so far. I don't know what this is going to look like when we start traveling and we're in Europe and we're in other locations. Like right now, this is the location that I'm filming this in, that I'm recording this in, is our Airbnb in Miami. And he's got this it's a secret closet, and you just push on that little door that's behind me that has all the little shelves on it, and there's a little walk-in closet there. And when I say little, I mean it's pretty little. It's not it's like the size you would have in a smaller apartment, in my opinion. And but he's got these shelves, so I you can see if you're watching the video, I've got my purses and my shoes lined up there because I needed that extra space. But anyways, it's kind of a nice little. Although I'm kind of off kilter, it's kind of a nice little setup for recording videos. And I don't know what that's going to look like when we start traveling to Europe, or how the time changes is going to work, etc. But either way, so far, this is really kind of helping me to structure my day. And as I always say, the more structure you have, which is really strange, the more freedom you feel. Tell me if that's true for you. When a lot of people become an entrepreneur, or like you're in charge of your own schedule, when so many of you or of us went to go work from home because of COVID, there were people who really struggled with that because they were missing the structure that they had of having to be at the office by a certain time. And so therefore they really felt depressed or just completely off because they didn't have that structure. And for a lot of us, like, structure makes you feel like the world makes sense. And so for me, I can very easily slip into a place where I'm being too free with my schedule. And I'm like, I know I'll get all these things done within this time frame. And then I lose track of time. And then I beat myself up for not being as productive as I needed to be. And so all that to say, thank you for being here. I hope that this works out. I also don't try to force myself to do anything or beat myself up anymore when I tell myself or other people, like, this is what I'm going to do, and then it just doesn't work out. Like, I think we have to give ourselves a lot more grace. We have to recognize when things need to flow or change. And that's another thing we talked about a little bit in Wednesday's episode. And it was very interesting to hear from many of you who really are at a place in your life where you feel like you need to reinvent yourself, or like you want this second chance, not even a second chance, like you want to do something new. And so that I'm working on that episode, and I'm really excited to hear a lot of your messages. I put a link to our Speak Pipe app. It's like this app where you can, and it's always in our show notes, but I always forget to mention it. But it's my favorite thing because I don't always see messages on Instagram or even on YouTube or any of the platforms. I don't always see all of them. And when you do, it's one thing to read somebody's message, but it's really so connecting to hear your voice. So if you want to share with us and you're okay with me sharing it on the show, I don't have to use your name if you don't want. Just let me know if you want it to be confidential. But I'd love to hear specifically, like, where are you that you feel like you're stuck and you want to reinvent yourself? You want to get out of a rut, or you want to, like, just do something different, not necessarily like move to another country, change your name and dye your hair, but you want to step into that next season or that next stage of you. All right, let's get into what to watch. Oh my gosh, I've got so many good ones for you. I may have mentioned this one in the past, I don't know. But for anyone who loved or loves Alanis Morissette, her documentary is called Jagged Little Pill. And gosh, it was so, first of all, I love her so much. I don't even have words for how connected I feel to that album. And so this documentary, it's a 4-part series, takes you through 4 episodes. And it just, I don't know if you knew, like, the whole story of, like, how she came up and her life, and, understanding the dynamic between her parents, understanding, like, her talent and all the things that she did before, like, we knew her as Alanis Morissette. Wow, is she talented. And it's just so interesting to see how different people process fame. And you've heard me say this before. I think fame for a lot of people can be a trauma. I got a sense from watching this that it was a trauma for her. This is just my take on it. There were parts, because they're interviewing her, and it's today, right? And she talks about her struggle with her body image. The first thing that's, like, really kind of strange to see is I just picture her as Alanis Morissette in the video, You Ought to Know, with the long, wild, brunette mane and the, rocker chick wearing, like, the white jean jacket and the white jeans and, like, smashing a guitar, and, like, just how passionate and emotional that video was. And I saw her in concert, but I just picture her looking like that. But she's, like, my age, or maybe she's a few years younger. But you know what I mean? How your brain remembers that person the last time you thought of them. It's almost like seeing the Spice Girls now. Like, it's different. And, she's aged, and she's not 21 anymore. And, you just see kind of someone who doesn't look like a rocker chick, but yet does. And she's so relatable and so humble. And it's just really interesting because you hear from so many other people's perspective, like what that was like for her and the impact of that album. So anyways, if you're a fan of hers, you definitely need to watch that. Speaking of fans of, again, some of you are going to completely relate to this. Your husband, for the fellas, I don't know if the fellas are going to love this one as much as I loved it. It's called Judy Bloom Forever. Do you remember reading the book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? Like, I remember thinking, like, I need to hide this under my pillow so my parents don't know that I'm learning about these things. Like, it wasn't as though those conversations were taboo in my family or in my household, but like, I remember when I got started my period, I was so embarrassed to tell my mom and dad. Like, obviously I didn't want to tell my dad, but I borrowed feminine care products from girlfriends for probably who had older sisters, because I got my cycle like really young. And I was, for whatever reason, like really embarrassed about that. So I borrowed feminine products from girlfriends who had older sisters, because I was just like, this is so weird. I didn't want to, like, why is this happening? And just remember how impactful reading that book was. And it was like this older sister who was able to relate to everything I was feeling and experiencing. Like, I literally feel like I learned about the birds and the bees and my body from reading her books. And she'd written so many books, and it's just, the series is 5 episodes long. It was kind of interesting to Brett because he was watching the documentary through me, but I also could tell like he wasn't that interested in it because he didn't read those books. But if you grew up reading the Judy Bloom books, it's fascinating, number one. And number two is I didn't even know about the second half of her life. Man, she's awesome. So that's a really interesting one. But again, it's only going to be interesting if you were a Judy Bloom fan. Moving on to 100-Foot Wave. 100-Foot Wave, it's family friendly. You're going to love it. Your partner's probably going to love it. And I've talked about 100-Foot Wave season 1. I think you could pick up on season 2 and you'd be fine because, yeah, it's 6 episodes in the second season. And it's about the big wave. The guy's name is Garrett. He's a big wave surfer, and they go to Portugal. And these waves are mind-blowing. The cinematography is mind-blowing. And just the type of personality, the drama behind it. And a lot of this was filmed during COVID. And you see like the police arresting people for going in the water. Like, we thought you could get COVID while you're in the ocean. So dumb. Anyways, it's the story about like how he's trying to figure out, he's at that age where you're like, wait, why is my body not cooperating with me? Like, I want to do this, but also recognizing your body doesn't respond the same way. You can't do the things you used to do. You can't your body is just not as good at recovering and just taking a pounding and bouncing back from it. And you can just see some like amazing massive waves. And the footage, like I said, is just beautiful. But you see like female surfers and father sons, and it's just beautiful. It's remarkable, and it's light watching, and it's something the whole family will enjoy. Next, let's talk about the documentary called Pretty Baby with Brooke Shields. This is an absolute must watch. It's on Hulu, and gosh, it is fascinating. Everyone has to watch this. It's unbelievable to see the way this beautiful young girl was sexualized at such a young age. And you can sense that she's trying to almost dismiss, in my mind, some of the things that are coming into her head about the way that her mom didn't protect her. I wish that this is just my personal opinion. When I'm watching, I'm thinking somebody needs to say like, what your mom did was wrong. The way your mom treated you and didn't protect you was wrong. You're going to be shocked to watch this and realize some of the things, if you're my age, that you remember seeing of her. And now thinking like, if you had a daughter who was that age, who was filming some of these things, what was her mother thinking? Like, I have found myself getting so angry for her about her mother. And I don't know if she's done enough therapy. Personally, this is just my own opinion, to acknowledge the fact or to work through that anger. It feels like she's kind of what's the word? Trying to dismiss it, trying to ignore it, trying to just almost make sense of what her mother did. Her mom was also a raging alcoholic. And it just feels like Brooke makes a lot of excuses for her. I don't know. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are on this. Drew Barrymore is in the video and she's barefoot. I have a thing about bare feet. I just like we're filming. Why can't you put your shoes on? I just have feet on couches, like bare feet. Bleh. Anyways, side note, it is fascinating, like to think about the way these producers and directors and even these talk show hosts, the way they sexualized her when she was like 10 and 12 years old. It's really gross. And thankfully, hopefully, Hollywood has changed a lot, but you're going to find it really eye-opening. What I did find really refreshing is how humble and sweet she is and how grounded her children are. Like you can sense that her kids are almost trying to carefully say to her, like, Mom, it was wrong, like what happened to you, without saying it, but almost like giving her this, like trying to let her know, like, it wasn't okay, Mom, without making Mom feel like she'd done anything wrong. Very interesting. Great movie. Highly recommend it. It's shocking to me the way she was treated. It's shocking to me the movies that she was in. And I don't know if it's a family-friendly series, but it's fascinating. Okay, just for fun, I really loved Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. It's on Peacock. I just think it's fun. So if you just want some, if you like the Housewives and you've got Peacock, definitely watch it. I think it's good fun because it's only 6 episodes. They're in the 3rd seasons of doing the Ultimate Girls Trip. They are in Thailand. I found that really fascinating. I'd never thought about taking a trip to Thailand. It looks pretty interesting. Although the one thing I noticed is the entire time they're fanning themselves. So I don't know when they went, but it must have been so hot and so humid. They looked pretty miserable. The outfits are classic. There's classic, girl fights and weird dynamics between the women. There's too much drinking and arguing and all the things that make for great reality TV. It's just exactly what you would expect. I find it very entertaining. It's a nice way to just unwind. You don't have to pay too close of attention. It's something to play in the background if you just want to keep yourself company while you're also playing on your phone, which I'm always going to be doing, right? Like I'm always going to be playing on my phone and watching Ultimate Girls Trip in the background. Now this one is heavy. It's called Listen, and it's on Hulu. It's a documentary that came out in 2021, and it follows a story of Lauren McCluskey. McCluskey, I think that's how you say it. She was a University of Utah student athlete. She was a track athlete. I forget which event she ran. But the series was once on ESPN. You can also see it on Hulu. It consists of 6 episodes, and it's really kind of interesting the way they build the episodes. Basically, this is a girl who started dating this guy who just things didn't add up, and he was like really into her, and he quickly, very quickly, within a couple of weeks' time, becomes very controlling and scary. And she's smart enough to like start telling all of her friends and her parents, like, this guy is scaring me, he's freaking me out. She starts reporting it to the university, and no one is really taking her seriously except her 2 girlfriends. It's really fascinating to watch the dynamic and how, laissez-faire the parents seem about it. Certainly how ridiculous the university handled the situation. And then to find out what happened to her after. I don't want to give the whole thing away, but it's a tragic story involving the police, involving the university, involving her parents, involving just people not listening. And I think it's a great cautionary tale. It highlights the issues of like campus safety and how so many campuses are far more concerned with their reputation and what's going to get out to the media than they are actually protecting their students. All right, if you have kids who are young adults, or if you struggle with your money mindset, if you struggle with managing your money, you've got to watch this series. It is so good. It's called How to Get Rich. It's on Netflix. It's 10 episodes long. You can pick the episodes that you want. Like Brett and I binged, I don't know, like 7 episodes all in one night because it's really good. And it's, again, one of those shows you can kind of play in the background if you want. You don't have to like carefully watch the plot. But man, you see how so many people never gained financial literacy. and what a big problem it is, and how much of the things that we think are associated with success, like buying a home, are so outdated, and student debt, credit card debt. This, if you feel like, gosh, I wish I knew more about money. I wish I was better with my money. I wish I understood like what percentage of my money should go to investing and what percentage should go to going out to eat. Like, and he counsels couples. The show basically follows a bunch of different couples and a few individual, like singles too, follows their journey in getting their finances in order and living a rich life. And by rich life, meaning like the life that you want to live with your money, and how to make more money with your money, and how to manage your money, and how to have that freedom and to feel rich, like whatever that is for you. And it's by the author of I Can Teach You to Be Rich. I think his name is pronounced Ramit Sethi. He's got a podcast. He's written books. He's a very well-known, I don't want to say financial advisor. He's like a financial educator. And the series is great because you see him helping somebody start a business. You see him helping people consolidate debt, make sense of something that they thought was a great investment, like buying a house or buying a condo, and having him break it down without making them feel any shame. And it's super educational. I highly recommend it for anyone. I don't care how old you are. Even Brett and I watching it, we're like, this is because it's one thing to make money. A lot of people have no clue how to keep it, how to manage it, the right decisions to make so that you have freedom. Highly recommend it. This one I watched with my parents. It's called Killer Sally. This one I watched with my parents when they were here, and it was not what I expected. I kept seeing the little art icon for this documentary series for probably like a year or two. And I was just like, yeah, it doesn't look interesting to me. I don't know. It's like a bodybuilder. And it's like, what could this be about? Well, it follows this incredible story of this female bodybuilder who lived in San Diego, and her name is Sally McNeil, I believe, and her husband, Ray. They were both in the military. They were both bodybuilders, insanely talented, gifted bodybuilders. She was this insanely gifted, talented athlete. Like in a later episode, they show you how she was a diver in high school with parents that couldn't afford anything. Like she just has incredible natural physical abilities. Anyways, she marries this guy, and they're both bodybuilders. He's taking a lot of steroids. She starts supporting him doing some crazy things, you guys. So when I started watching this, I'm like, I know about this. There's this whole subculture of men who are, and I have to be careful the way I say this, shall we say, very excited to see women who have a lot of muscle. Let's just say that. And they don't have to do anything sexual. They just have to basically pose, and that gets these guys excited. Well, there's a whole industry for that. It's almost kind of like OnlyFans before there was OnlyFans. And she gets involved in that in order to make money to pay for her husband's training and to become a pro bodybuilder. So he's taking all these steroids. And as we know, steroids really impact anger and rage, especially when you're, taking, he had like, I don't know, was taking 5 different types of steroids. Anyways, she ends up becoming a battered woman. And she eventually kills him. I'm going to I'm not spoiling anything. Obviously, the name of the episode or the name of the series is called Killer Sally. But the twists and turns as this unfolds is going to have you shocked. There is a point at which we were watching it, and my dad said, if they convict this woman, I'm going to be furious. And then all of a sudden you get all this new information. So it really is a fascinating documentary. I know I've been saying that about all of these, but this one I especially love because her 2 children, who are now grown adults, you see actual footage of them being interviewed by the police after the murder of their father, who happened to have been their stepfather, but they saw him as their father. So you see, and these kids are so wise, and they're giving their mom basically like what they did during the interviews. I'm not going to spoil it, but like it's fascinating. And then they're going back and commenting on what they saw and what they experienced. And my heart just broke for them. I mean, now they're adults, but it's just wild. And they're interviewing Sally today, and then you see the interviews with the police when she's being interrogated. So it's a must watch. Killer Sally on Netflix. Brock and Taylor told me to watch this one. It's called Pez Outlaw. And it is kooky and wild. It follows the story of this guy. What was his name? Steve Glue. In the 1990s, Pez candy, remember the little candy dispenser with Pez, took off with wild abandonment. Like people collected it. It became like they would do these big conferences and conventions where people would collect and trade, and Pez dispensers. And Pez dispensers are made, or were made at the time, in a European country. I can't remember which one right now at the moment, but they were licensed by one company here in the United States. But the place that made the Pez dispensers were in Europe, right? And so there was this huge market for Pez dispensers. And this crazy guy, Steve, who's very neurodivergent, very unique, very creative. He just reminds me of like a lot of people I know, concocted this plan to go to Eastern Europe and basically kind of black market import some of these Pez dispensers that the American Pez company wasn't buying. So they're like off market, black label, if you will. And he made millions of dollars doing this. And he's one of those guys that had done like a million different businesses before that, like one of those super creative guys. And they'd always been like very poor. And then suddenly they were making millions. And so the story follows, you fall in love with this guy, even though you're like, is this legal? And it's a love story. Like the love that his wife has for him and the love they have for each other is going to make you cry. It is so sweet. And they followed this story of how basically they went from rags to riches and then back to rags when the president of the Pez company here in the United States, well, I'm not going to spoil the whole thing for you, but it's really sweet and endearing. And it's a little bit about like neurodivergence and how important it is to like follow your dream and be creative, but also it's a love story. Lastly, I have The Bling Ring. It's on Netflix. And this follows the story of a group of friends who were wannabes. Like they're in Hollywood and they wanted to be famous. They wanted to be actors and models. They just wanted fame and money and attention. Well, they concoct this plan to start robbing the homes of celebrities and figuring out when the celebrities were going to be out of their homes based on social media. This took place in the late 2000s, and you may have remembered hearing about it like on TMZ. Remember when TMZ was like a big deal, and it was all the paparazzi and the celebrities, and a lot of the celebrities were like reality TV stars, like, I don't know, Paris Hilton. And this show follows, they're actually interviewing the group of friends who were involved in this string of robberies. It is fascinating to see how, in my opinion, every character in this series is completely narcissistic, have lost touch with reality, even today. And it's shocking to see how these celebrities were just so careless with their security. I think it probably changed a lot of the way that a lot of celebrities talk about where they are and what they're doing and the security that they have in place in their homes, etc. I would hope so. But it's a mix of like reality TV and crime and almost like a study of psychology. Like you see how desperate people are to just be famous and how stupid we are about like things like purses and sunglasses and like the things that we spend money on. Like it really makes no sense. You'll have to watch it. I thought it was really interesting. The series goes into psychology and their motivation, and you just, the mom in the show, oh my God. Like what is wrong with people? That's what I kept saying when I was watching this. Like, what is wrong with people? Oh, I've got one more for you. Love is Blind season 4. If you haven't watched any of the Love is Blinds, watch it. I mean, you can go through it really, really fast. It's fascinating. The couples this season they're really good looking. They're interesting, and nothing turns out as you think it will. That's what I'm going to tell you. But it is really fascinating to see the way that people so deeply fall in love without ever having seen each other. Now, the show does, like I said, a pretty good job of matching up attractive people, but you will be surprised all the way to the end, like right up until the moment. So if you want something light and fun to watch, watch that. Then watch the all the way through the final finale where they get together in the reunion and you see what's happened after the show ends. It's light, it's entertaining, it's mind-numbing TV that you can just play in the background when you need something light. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this episode of What to Watch. I try to do this at least once a month. Sometimes I go back to older, like some of these came out last year and even the year before because I missed them. So if you've got some great shows that I might have missed and you think people need to watch, these are like documentaries, right? So we're not talking about drama series. These are all reality or docu-series. If you've got one you'd like to recommend, please drop it in the comments. Please don't forget how much I appreciate that you spend your time here with me. And the most amazing favor you could do for me is to share this episode with someone else. You've got that girlfriend or guy friend who's always looking for something to watch. Send them this episode. Let them take a listen. I really appreciate that you've double checked to make sure that you're subscribed. If you do happen to be watching this on YouTube, please leave us a comment below. Be sure to like the channel. Be sure to make sure that you hit the bell so that when there's a new episode, you're first to see it. And as always, you can check our show notes for all of the links, including links to my Patreon, which comes out once a week. Would love to have you check that out. You can do so by clicking the link below. And as always, I love you. I mean it, and I'll talk to you soon.